Thank you, Mr. President. The search for missing persons is a humanitarian issue of great importance for people who have survived a terrible armed conflict. In talking about the fate of missing persons in Syria, one must remember those who disappeared as a result of the airstrikes of the so-called coalition, about those who disappeared as a result of the destruction of Raqqa by the coalition in 2017, those who went missing in territories occupied by the U.S. and their allies, especially in the Al-Hol camp, which is notorious for its high numbers of missing persons, those who fell victim to terrorists in Idlib, those who disappeared in the zone of illegal military occupation in the north of the country, those who were illegally detained by U.S.-sponsored forces in Al-Tanf. It would seem that here we have an issue on which the international community could provide assistance to the government of Syria in order to truly achieve results and help people. However, like any humanitarian activity, the search for missing persons must be carried out at the request of the affected state, complementing its own efforts. It is clear that otherwise such activities will be ineffective in the best case scenario and harmful and illegal in the worst. Yet the group of states co-sponsoring the draft resolution under consideration did not even bother to consult with Damascus. It is submitting a draft resolution for the consideration of the General Assembly on the establishment of a certain structure, which is an institution on missing persons in the Syrian Arab Republic in name only. In reality, that is not the case. The so-called institution tasked with searching for people on the territory of Syria, according to the resolution, is not meant to cooperate with the government of this country. The question arises then about how it intends to act. By secretly entering the state's territory, it is obvious that such activities, as well as the decision that would launch them, contradicts the fundamental principle of the UN Charter on non-interference in the internal affairs of states. The General Assembly has no prerogative to impose a mechanism that would operate on the territory of any state or in respect of matters within its domestic competence without the consent of that state. In other words, member states are being asked today to take an illegal decision, one that will have no legal effect. In other words, the General Assembly, in violation of the UN Charter, is today being invited to create an instrument of pressure on Syria under a cynical humanitarian pretext, which has nothing to do with the true objectives of this enterprise. We have no doubt that this mechanism can be neither independent nor impartial. Like its predecessor, the so-called Independent International Commission of Inquiry in Syria, it can only obediently fulfill the orders of its sponsors. Russia does not support the idea of creating a so-called independent institution on missing persons in the Syrian Arab Republic. We support Syria's request to put this resolution to a vote, and we will vote against this resolution, and we call on all states not to support this draft and not to believe in its humanitarian title. We also echo the statement of the group of friends of the UN Charter made by Venezuela. In conclusion, we wish to stress that in order to truly solve the problem of missing persons, developing substantive cooperation with Damascus is necessary, as is providing it with effective assistance and lifting illegal unilateral sanctions that negatively affect these efforts, as well as humanitarian recovery on the whole, and foreign occupation of the country and repatriate foreign citizens present there. All these tools are in the hands of the group of states behind the draft resolution under consideration today, but they do not intend to use them because their goal is not helping people in Syria. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I thank